Welcome to Troy's Outdoor Pursuits and Projects. Archery season is now over. I didn't get a deer, but I did manage to get a bear with my recurve. If you haven't seen the video, I suggest you check it out. I think it's a pretty good video. Rifle season starts in another week, and duck season is just around the corner. And this year, I had to intend to hunt ducks with a recurve. I know that's not a new idea, but I can't find any recent videos of guys taking birds with a recurve out of the air. I see some with compounds, but not with recurve. So I've been doing a little bit of research on the subject and trying to figure out what it is I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. I hunted ducks 2 years ago with a recurve and had no luck. I ran into some real challenges, and those challenges, besides the shooting part, is what I want to try to address. So stick around till the end of this video, because I got an idea that I think is a little intriguing, and I want to know if anyone else has tried it or what you guys think of whether or not it'll work. So since duck season is not for another month or so, it's obvious I'm not going to be hunting in this video. So I'm probably going to break this up into 2 or 3 different videos. One being about the gear that I've come up with. The second one might be on practice, which may involve a mechanical aerial target. And then of course the third and fourth videos might be on actual hunting in the field. Anyway, so let's just jump right into this and we'll talk about the gear. So this year, this will be my duck bow. It is the lowly and affordable yet capable Black Hunter. So I bought this bow new. I'm going to set it up just for duck hunting. It's 40 pound, nothing special. I've got a aftermarket string by Lane Holcomb. I might put the link in if I have it. It's a great string. I'm just going to do the rubber silencers, nothing special. I don't want anything that's going to get wet. So that's the bow I'm going to use. Okay, as far as arrow design goes, I was kind of thinking about something light. I wanted a lighter weight arrow so that it won't carry as much momentum and hopefully not travel as far, because that's a very limiting factor when shooting aerial targets, is the distance your arrow travels, and we're going to talk more about that. So it's a lighter arrow. This is a 500 spine arrow. I've done a little bit of bear shaft tuning. I've got some different points ordered and inserts, but I'm probably going to end up with about a 500 grain arrow, maybe a little less. It's 31 inches long. Of course, I've got flu feathers on it. The flu feathers will slow it down. I've done a little bit of shooting outside, and generally speaking, this arrow might fly about 100 yards. And I gotta say, that's a long ways to have to walk in a marsh to track down your arrows. This is a standard 3-blade 125 grain point, nothing special. I'm probably gonna use these for ducks. Based on what I've read, that's probably what I'm going to use. The hope is this will pass through the bird and the arrow will get hung up at the fletching. That's the hope, and that the arrow itself will help carry the bird to the ground if it's not immediately mortally wounded. Another option is the turkey heads. I've got some of those ordered. They're 3 3/4 inch cutting diameter. I don't know if a recurve is going to have the kind of energy required to basically sever the head or neck of a flying bird. Of course, there's the snarrow, but I truly do not think this is a duck head from a recurve. Might be okay for smaller birds, but I don't think it's meant for ducks. So let me know what you think about that, because I'm not really sure what head to use. So that's what I got. Now, as I said, I've done a bit of hunting, and when I hunted 2 years ago, I hunted a big marsh area, and hunting with a recurve limited the areas I could hunt with a bow. The reason why is, if this arrow goes 100 yards and you're hunting in the marsh and you shoot 5 or 6 arrows, there's a pretty small likelihood you're going to find all your arrows, and I don't like losing arrows. I hate losing arrows. So when I hunted a couple years ago, I was limited to hunting open areas with 100 yards of water, open water in front of me at about 180 degrees. So I could shoot in, at 180 degrees and generally most likely find my arrow. Well, that again is a big limiting factor. So I got to thinking about, what about using a string tracker? I had a string tracker when I was a kid on my compound, and it worked pretty good, but it did drag the arrow down quite a bit. So I did a little recent research and find out there's a company that sells a thing called the trad tracker, and I'm going to buy one. It looks like a phenomenal little piece of equipment for a recurve bow or a compound. It's a very small, very lightweight string tracker that uses a small 1,000-foot spool of string. And guys that use it report really good results in that it does not affect the arrow flight. So I thought, well, what if I use a trad tracker and I could hunt anywhere I wanted and still find my arrow? Well, I probably could, but I still might have to walk 100 yards to retrieve that arrow through a marsh, and that's no fun in thigh-deep water or tules up to your shoulder or whatever cover it is you have to wander through. And I don't want to have to ball up there or 100 yards of string after every shot, as I'm certainly not going to leave that laying in the marsh. So I got this idea. Stick with me, because this might work. I thought, what if a guy used a string tracker, but only used, say, 25 or 30 yards of string, or whatever the limit of his range is with his bow? And what if that string that was on a spool, a bow fishing reel, whatever you want to call it, had a drag on the end of it, so that when the arrow pulled the 25 yards of line out, it then pulled the drag out and the arrow was immediately slowed down? Well, let me show you what I got. Okay, so this is what I came up with. What I've got here is a homemade bracket bolted underneath the limb bolt, lower limb bolt. I've got a sports bottle, spool, or reel. I've got 30 yards of 15-pound high visibility braided line that will attach one end to the end of my arrow like a bow fishing reel, and the other end is attached to a piece of pool noodle and a short piece of plastic ribbon. I've tested this quite a bit, and so far it seems to work pretty well. I've used several different versions of this, and this is the one that's worked for me pretty well so far. I need to test it some more. So let's take this outside. I'm going to shoot an untethered arrow and then the same arrow tethered to this bird tracker, and we'll see what the difference in flight distance is and see what the flight looks like, and I'll let you guys decide. Let's do it. Here we are at my dried up pond, which is not only the testing grounds for my DIY duck boats, but now my bird fishing reel. So let's compare these two arrows and see what you guys think. Which arrow would you rather retrieve? Let's pace this off and see what we get. 1, 2, 3, 4, 41, 42, 43. 43 yards. 44, 45, 46, 80, 81. So 81 yards, 43 yards, about twice as far. I've got to say that I've got a pretty stiff headwind. I've done this testing in the past and I got farther arrow flight than we got today, but they were different arrows, but the headwind's going to make a difference. So to be fair, I need to show you the time it takes to wind this up. So the system I've got right now That goes in the reel, and then you simply start winding, and you can just count the time. In the past I've done this, it's taken about a minute to wind up 25 or 30 yards of string. In the marsh it might take a little longer because you're going to be walking through the water, in the marsh you're going to be walking through the water and maybe some cover that might get tangled in the string. I don't know. This is all just a big experiment. I'm really interested in your guys' input. Consider that while the untethered arrow only went twice as far, about 80 yards in this case, that doesn't mean you would find your arrow in a marsh situation. However, with this drag attached and 25 or 30 yards of string, I see no way that you couldn't find it. Just my opinion, but I'm interested in your opinion as well, because maybe there's something I've overlooked that I need to be reminded of. Okay, there you have it, guys. Tethered versus untethered. What do you think would work best? What do you think of the advantages or disadvantages would be of one over the other? What are the chances that you might consider hunting ducks with a bow if you had a surefire means of finding your arrow every single shot? If you like this video, consider subscribing. Check out my bear hunting video. You'll get a link eventually to subsequent videos regarding aerial bird shooting. So until then, thanks for watching and hope you see you in the next one.